I am Doomsvince, and this is day 102 of Spawn Year.
In this issue, our hero has no head and has green gooey guts all over the alleys, and when you have no head, it's hard to really do anything worth anyone telling a story about. If you're an undead necroplasmic entity from hell, you can get away with being the central character if your head and your body are merely across the room from each other, but it's a little awkward when your head explodes. The alleys are falling apart as the word gets out that Spawn is dead. The worst kind of street trash is returning without fear of reprisal from Spawn, and Spawn's homeless friends, led by Bobby, are gearing up for war against Johnny and his cronies for murdering their protector. In a lot of Spawn stories, I find myself frustrated with Spawn for staying in this dull and dreary setting and not venturing out to make some sort of life for himself. We know that it's a holy place and he's physically drawn to it, but that forces the character into one location most of the time, and all the action has to come to him, which gets old fast and makes Spawn look pathetic if you wait dozens of issues before revealing why he's there. And even then, that explanation read suspiciously like an afterthought. Since, for whatever reason, McFarlane decided to have Spawn spend 90% of his time in these alleys, he might as well flesh out some of the characters there and tell some stories, and it's nice to finally see him doing that. McFarlane creates an underground society here, a way of life civilization ignores, but that at least some of the bums take a little pride in, and try to protect from gangs who want to take their turf away from them. Bootsy shows his true colors when he's too afraid to fight with the others, and Bobby says he doesn't want anything to do with a coward. They both have good reasons for their positions. Bobby doesn't want Johnny's gang to take over, but Bootsy doesn't think his friends can realistically stop them. Johnny's men have guns, they don't, and besides, look what they did to Spawn. Bobby is angrier and more hot-headed than we've ever seen him. But it's not out of character. He's been Spawn's strongest supporter, and he owes Spawn his life for bringing him back from the grave. But he's also too emotional to be an effective leader. He's fueled more by vengeance than by a duty to protect his friends. He's ready to risk everyone's lives for a fool's errand. And he seems to be walking into a Custer's Last Stand scenario. I also wonder if Spawn hasn't been a bad influence on Bobby, always meeting volatile situations with might instead of brains and shooting first, often with the intention of not leaving enough left over to ask questions later. I'm not confident McFarlane will think to explore how Spawn's example would affect someone else taking his place as leader, but I'd like to see that. Meanwhile, Sam and Twitch are investigating a completely unrelated crime, or at least I can't imagine how it might be related. An obnoxious old lady, their only current paying customer, except Sam keeps forgetting to charge her, thinks aliens have murdered her husband. McFarlane is trying to tap into that mid-90s X-Files craze, going so far as to having the old woman actually watching X-Files and claiming every major film dealing with abduction is true. And I chuckled at this, even Mars Attacks in a couple of scenes. Boy, I'd love to know which ones. Then Cog shows up, telling them Spawn needs their help, and the last we see of them, they're on their way. Looks kinda too late to me. I'm not sure what a couple private eyes can do to help a guy with no face, but perhaps they'll help ease the violence in Rat City since Spawn's disappearance. At the end, we find there's a mastermind behind Spawn's murder, or attempted murder. This isn't the movie, where all you have to do is lop his head off. According to Cog, by the way, the part of the alley Spawn was in makes him vulnerable. How convenient is it that that's where the guys just happened to shoot him? And now his ignorance has betrayed him. For once, I don't blame Spawn at all. How would he know about that? Hey Cog, maybe instead of lurking in the shadows playing Deep Throat, you could educate Spawn a little more often. The brains behind the operation turns out to be the Freak. What? Why does Freak, of all people, want Spawn dead? Spawn helped Freak kill an innocent physician he believed to be the fictional Dr. Delirium, and now he wants to own the alleys, or something? I guess when you're writing a certified nut job, you can have him do just about anything. It's not a bad issue overall, but I'd love one of these decent comics to actually, have Spawn in it. Signed, Captain Logan.